Hello and welcome back to another episode of this week's watches. And like every single week, we have a varied drop for you guys from probably my favorite Rolex ever. And actually the funny thing is, in a Q&A recently, I was asked what was my sort of dream Rolex. I said a Platinum Daytona, but failing that, the watch I described was this exact watch. And this is before I knew we were getting this in. So I'm very, very excited to show you what we've purchased and what is actually our stock and what is going to be available to you today. So yeah, some real variety, some real pieces that are just incredible, some quite rare pieces. And also, next week, before we get onto that actually, if you want to skip to the watches, as always, in the description there's timestamps to each watch so you can skip to the exact watch you'd like to see. There's also a link to the website where you can purchase and see any extra information you could possibly need to make a decision on whether that's something you'd like to purchase or not. And as I was saying, next week we have, again, an incredibly varied drop. And the week after, we're already building as well. We are that far ahead, and that's thanks to you guys and girls sending your watches for consignment or sale or whatever it may be. So please continue to do so. On our website, there's a sell form. That's super easy. If you have multiple watches you would like to sell, the best thing to do is email us at info@kibblewatches.co.uk and follow the format of the sell form, but for all of your watches. It's the easiest way to do it rather than sending individual forms. I know that can be a bit tedious, but we still kind of require as much information as possible, regardless of whether you have one watch you want to sell or 10 watches. We're going to need the same amount of information on each watch, so keep that in mind. But yeah, you're probably seeing a little sneak peek over here of some watches that are going to be coming in the next week's drop. There is a Resonance, I keep calling it Resonance, I can't get it out of my head, I don't know why, but Resonance Hodinkee 1H or H1. Limited to 20 pieces worldwide, and we have some super interesting Habrons as well. And you'll be looking at the Fears going, but James, you're already a stockist of Fears. Well, I'll give you a little sneak peek on what's coming next week. We have been working very hard to actually create a so basically curating a pre-owned selection of Fears. Now, as we are the official London stockist of Fears, it was fitting for us to also be the place to come for pre-owned Fears in terms of modern. Obviously, if you want vintage Fears, bold timepieces, they do a fantastic job of curating some great vintage Fears. However, we're going to focus on the modern. So we've curated a little selection with potentially one or two more coming later down the road. So we're excited to showcase those, but we won't be showing any more of that until next week's drop. So keep an eye out for that. But in terms of the rest, on Instagram @KibbleWatches, you can follow us there. You can see what's coming soon. We do sneak peeks, and you can get in before they hit the website, before they get to this point, because this is 9 watches. I believe there was about 11 or 12, and we've already sold some. So you can see what we're left with. So beat the website and messages before. So before we start taking a closer look, what's on wrist? I'm wearing my trusty Fears Brunswick Brown, one of 5 ever made, and it's paired on a strap tailor suede brown that we also sell on the website. So go on the website, we have some strap options. We sell the Fears straps because they're fantastic, and the strap tailor straps, and we are looking to potentially expand that this year as well, so keep an eye. All right, that's enough rambling from me, although we're going to be rambling a lot more because we're going to be looking at the watches. So let's dive in with the most beautiful Rolex ever. I'm going to say it. That is the Rolex DayDate. What a watch to start this week with. What you're looking at is a beautiful 18 karat white gold Rolex DayDate. This is the reference 118239, which for those of you who know your Rolex references, that means this is a later variant of the DayDate, so double quick as they call it, so it's quick set for changing the time and date. You have sapphire crystal. It is the concealed clasp, but not the latest concealed clasp, so it still is the older generation with the holes and that pierce through. But this is all 18 karat white gold. It's in fantastic condition. It looks absolutely beautiful. And this is the variation of dial that I personally adore. So what you've got here is a electric blue dial. Stick batons as they're known, with Roman on the inside of the track. Obviously day and date there, which is what makes this watch so amazing. And for those of you who aren't so familiar with Rolexes, the DayDate only comes in precious metals. You can't get it in stainless steel. There has been, I think, 1 or 2 variants that have come to auction over the years that were in stainless steel, that were prototypes, but they're an exception. So, you know, you will never find a normal stainless steel Rolex DayDate. So that's something to keep in mind. It'll always be precious metal. And for me, white gold or platinum is the go-to. Whilst I absolutely love yellow and rose gold, I just find the white metal suits my kind of, my very basic dress code a lot more personally. Inside here is the automatic Rolex caliber 3155, and this model is from June 2003, and it does come with its full box and paperwork, which is absolutely awesome, and spare links as well. You can see condition of it is fantastic. It has been polished, but it's been done professionally, and it looks brilliant. But that is enough rambling about this absolute beauty. Let's try it on wrist and talk dimensions. So as you can see, this is accidentally sized to my wrist. You know, no intentions there at all, but wow. I absolutely love this. The concealed clasp is just incredible, especially when you look at it from this profile. It just looks brilliant. And as you spin it round, you know, you've got that white gold fluted bezel, the white gold case, everything being white gold. It's got a real heft to it, and you can sort of notice immediately. A lot of people who've come in to have a look at this already have wondered whether it was platinum at first sort of pickup, because it is that heavy, and for a 36mm watch it shows just how much gold is actually in this. But what we're looking at here is 36 by 43 millimeters, which is what it should be in my opinion for a DayDate. Whilst I don't mind the 40, I personally just think the DayDate should be 36, and I think it looks perfect in this dimension. 12mm thick and 20mm lugs are endless options on strap if you're not a fan of the bracelet, but I'll be surprised if you're not, because it's built incredibly well and it suits the look of the watch perfectly. This is known as the presidential bracelet, not a Jubilee, slightly different link configuration, which if you compare against a Jubilee you will see. But an absolute gorgeous watch, and one definitely worth picking up because of condition and configuration and set. You know, these aren't actually that easy to find. So go check it out on the website today. From there to a absolute classic, we've almost got a quintessential Rolex. Now we're going to what I believe to be a quintessential Amiga, and that is the Amiga Speedmaster. Next up, we have a Amiga Speedmaster Professional. This is the now discontinued Hesselite version. So the exact reference to this is a long reference, so I won't say it, but you can see it on the website. Inside this is the manually wound Amiga caliber 1861. As you can see, well, as you can't see, but trust me, it's in there. You've got a closed case back with all of the Speedmaster Professional writing and typeface you'd expect, and the bracelet still has a sticker on it. The bracelet is pretty much in unworn condition. The watch, however, has been worn. It was worn on straps, so you will see some scratches and marks, but to be honest, it's in very, very good condition, and from August 2019, and it does come with its full box and paperwork, and as you'd expect, this model and this age, it comes with the big box with all of the extra gubbins and bits and bobs, so you know you've got everything in there as you'd expect. But probably the most classic, in my opinion, the most classic Speedmaster. And I've said it before, I personally prefer this to the latest edition. Nothing against the latest edition, I think it's a fantastic watch, but I just think this is a very, very good watch, and you're saving yourself a lot of money. Whilst these have definitely gone up in price, it's quite incredible to see, I still think value-wise, the value is in this one as opposed to the new one for now, personally. Again, you buy what you like. If you prefer the new bracelet, if you prefer the new movement, if you prefer the new look, I get it. I just don't know whether that's worth the price increase personally, because this is such a good and reliable watch that you don't really need to spend that extra bit to get those extra features unless you really want them. But yeah, that's just my stance on it. I'll be very interested to hear what you think down in the comments below. I look forward to reading them. But let's have a closer look at this one on wrist and talk dimensions. And here we go on wrist. Really, really well proportioned at 42mm by 48mm lug to lug, only 13.5mm thick and 20mm lugs. And that's what makes this watch such a strap monster. It really does look good on so many different straps, whether it be NATOs, mesh bracelets, you know, whatever you can think of. Suede, you know, I love suede. This would go straight on a suede for me. But yeah, go check this one out on the website and pick it up before the prices continue going up. From there to a very interesting Squale. Let's take a closer look. So next up is a really interesting and unusual watch from Squale. Now this is actually in collaboration with AWCo, which is Amsterdam watch company over in Amsterdam. That's not to be mistaken for Amsterdam Vintage Watches. Those are the other guys across the road. They're actually pretty close to each other. These guys are the ones that, I guess they both do similar things, just in different ways, to be honest. But Amsterdam Watch Company partnered with Squale on this absolutely awesome awesome addition of part of the Sabino range. Now, what makes this so interesting, you might be looking at it going, it's a bit small, but that is because these cases are original 1950s new old stock Blancpain cases, or Blancpain, however you want to say it, and that is an original new old stock bezel as well. So what they've done is they've apparently found these cases at the warehouse, including these bezels, and made this watch. I think that's really interesting. It's not the first time Squale or other brands have done something like this, but you know, to make a limited edition of 60 pieces altogether, I think is really, really cool. You've sort of got that very interesting compressor style case back as well. Everything just feels like a vintage watch. It looks like a vintage watch, but you've got the build quality and reliability of a modern watch, even though it is vintage parts, which is kind of reassuring. Inside here is an automatic ETA 2671, which is the Ibashi or Ibash, however you pronounce that, variant, which is a slightly higher grade, not quite like the Elaborate or anything like that, slightly different. So that's something to keep in mind. I think it has something to do with the shock protection upgrades as well. Again, you can do more research. I believe we have all the information on the website. You've got to remember, a lot of this is completely off the cuff by me on these videos. But this one is from February 2021. It does come with its full box and paperwork. And as you can see from me showing the watch, it is in very good condition. It's been worn, but very, very lightly. I think you'll be very pleased with this. And knowing there's only 60 in the world, it makes it quite rare when you consider productions of watches nowadays. But let's show this one on wrist and talk dimensions. And here we go on wrist. I think it looks really great. It really does look like a vintage diver, and I think that's obviously what they're going for with the new old stock parts. So you got 35mm by 41.5mm lug to lug, only 12.5mm thick and 19mm lugs. A little bit awkward on the lug length, but there are endless options, and this strap it comes on is very nice, and I think it suits the watch really, really well. So go check this one out on the website for more details. And that leaves us with the rest of the watches here, and all of these are under £500, which is really cool. So that's why I'm excited to bring this dynamic. We've got something that's well over £20,000 and then a load of options under £500. I mean, this is what makes doing this and curating these drops every single week so much fun, because the variety you're just not going to get anywhere else, and that's what I love. But let's dive in first with the Hamilton Khaki Pilot in aluminium. Next up is a watch I've actually had in the past in stock and owned myself for a little while because I thought it was just so cool, and I still do. I think this is really, really unique. This is the Hamilton Khaki Pilot Pioneer in aluminium. Yes, you heard that correct. This case is made of aluminium. A lot of people look at it and they think it's maybe some sort of plating or it's bronze or something. No, it's aluminium. Really interesting. Really unique case shape as well, very reminiscent of some of the chronos of this period. Done by Hamilton, CWC, a lot of those kind of brands. The American sort of style case, as it's sometimes referred to. But this is the H80435895, and it is discontinued with Hamilton directly. However, it is still available in some places every now and again, but we have one which is still stickered and pretty much new. It's been worn, but very, very lightly. Exhibition case back as well, showing the automatic Hamilton caliber H10, which is an 80-hour power reserve movement. Very, very reliable. Good movement based on ETA architecture. Being part of the Swatch group, they have access to all that kind of stuff, which is really good. And just a really nice looking watch. It's great for someone who wants that kind of bronze look, but don't want their sort of watch to go green after a while or start changing. This sort of ticks all the boxes, and it's incredibly light as well, perks of aluminium. This one's from February 2018. It does come with its box and papers, but let's show this one on wrist and talk dimensions. Actually, before we do that, just so you can see, you have an inner rotating bezel at the top, and obviously the bottom crown is to wind, set the time and date and everything like that, as you'd expect. So compressor style diver case and functionality, but it isn't a compressor diver, so something to keep in mind. But let's show on wrist and talk dimensions. And here we go on wrist. It's certainly not a small watch, but it still wears very, very well considering it's 43mm case. But that is mainly due to this sort of unusual case shape, which is almost like a crown guard off to the side. So 43mm by 47mm lug to lug, so it's under that 50mm lug to lug I was going about. Only 12mm thick and 22mm lug, so endless options if you're not a fan of this combination. However, I think it works perfectly and really suits the look of the watch. So go check it out on the website. From there to a watch I think is really, really good looking, and I think a lot of you are going to be very surprised. That's the Mercer. Next up is a watch from a brand that were doing very interesting things, but unfortunately fell off the face of the earth by the looks of it. And it just goes to show how difficult this industry can be to break through. Even when you're making a fantastic product that looks incredible, it doesn't necessarily mean you're going to make it. So this is the Mercer AWCo Airfoil Vanilla, as it's known. As you can see, really interesting design, very, very unique. Kind of similar to some of the Bremonts, so it's not necessarily completely unique, but I still think they did a very nice job. And what makes this one really interesting is you have a screw down crown, date down at 6 o'clock, so very nicely designed and proportioned. We'll talk more about case size in a second. You can see signed crown there. Inside the back you have a decorated rotor, which again isn't super cheap, but it is a Sellita SW200-1, so they haven't cheaped out on the movement. They didn't just go with another Seiko movement or Miyota. They actually put a Swiss-made movement inside. So, you know, fair play to them. Really nice quality strap. Nice quality overall, but again, as I said at the start, this company has unfortunately gone bust by the looks of things. There's nothing official from them, but there's definitely enough out there to sort of put two and two together that they're no longer around and no longer making watches, which is unfortunate. Now this, I believe, is limited to 50 watches total, which makes it quite interesting, and it's from November 2018. It does come with its full box and paperwork, and thankfully, as I said, that is a Sellita movement inside, so in terms of future sustainability of the watch, keeping it serviced and running, you haven't got to worry that the movement was made by one person who only knows how to do that movement. This, any comparable watchmaker will be able to service. So you haven't got to worry about the fact that the business has gone under to still enjoy this watch for the rest of your days, which is really great to know. But let's show on wrist and talk dimensions. Here we go on wrist. I think that is proportioned so well, and it looks really good. This is 40mm by 46.5mm lug to lug, only 11.5mm thick and 20mm lug. So again, endless options. But again, a very, very well designed watch from a brand that I thought were going to be doing amazing things. But that's the nature of the beast, unfortunately. So go check this one out on the website and pick up a watch that you'll probably never see again, which is kind of cool. And now on to an incredibly well-engineered watch. Let's have a look at the Elliot Brown. Next up, we have a watch from a brand that seemed to be making waves among the collecting community at the moment. This is Elliot Brown. Specifically, this is the Holton Automatic. Now, I think the reason they're making waves through the sort of industry, especially with collectors, is because they're tailoring to that sort of niche design, but with actual practicality and usability. And what I mean by that is they're partnering with what seems to be a lot of military personnel and people who are actually taking these watches into extreme situations and proving just how reliable these watches are. It's very similar to what, in my opinion, what Bremont are doing with Explorers and same with Linda Verdelin, but Elliot Brown are doing it on a much more affordable basis, which I think is great to see. And this watch is built incredibly well, there's no question about it. Nice screw down crown, very nicely finished bezel, which has a very nice action. Really nice colours on the dial, nice sword hands, very legible. Paired on this fitted rubber strap, which I think looks absolutely awesome and really goes with the overall design. And closed caseback. Behind that closed caseback is an automatic Seiko caliber NH35. A caliber a lot of us know and love and is super reliable and you haven't got to worry about, which is great. And this one is from September 2021. It does come with its full box and paperwork. It is basically unworn, so you can pick yourself up pretty much a new watch at discount, which is always nice. So go check this one out. But before we do that, let's take a closer look and talk dimensions. And here it is on wrist. It's no small watch, that's for sure, but it definitely feels robust. And thanks to that sort of very well fitted rubber strap, it slopes straight off the wrist, so I actually haven't got sort of lug overhang on my wrist, which is very important to me. This is 43mm by 52.5mm lug to lug, 14mm thick and 22mm lugs. So if you're not a fan of that fitted black rubber, you can swap it out, but I think it really goes with the overall design. And this is the kind of watch you can wear doing anything. And I think that's the appeal of it. So go check it out on the website. Now on to a brand I have known of for a long time, met the owner actually a fair while ago, and surprisingly this is the first one we've ever stocked, and that is Aviga. Let's have a closer look. So next up is a Aviga Valkyrie, and this is the stainless brown as it's called, because that dial is slightly brown. And I think it looks really cool with the contrast of the red and the slight bit of orange, and this really strange blue bezel. The reason I say strange is because this is a real mix of colours that if you just read it on paper, you'd be like, that's never going to work. But when you see it in person, it really does work and it pops. And I think it looks really good. Very interesting case profile. Reminds me very much of the Tissot PR Not the PRX, the PR516 or whatever they're called, the older generation vintage Tissot's, or the C-Stars even. I think it's just a cool looking watch. Nice screw down crown right there with their logo. I believe I actually have a cap from them, as I know Danny does, our photographer, which is really cool. Nice case back as well. Very simple, but very, very well executed, and I think that's the beauty of what Aviga are doing. Inside here is an automatic Miyota caliber 9015, so the 9000 series rather than the 8000 series, which is good because it's slightly upgraded and you don't get that so noticeable rotor wobble as it's often referred to. This one is from August 2019. It does come with its box and papers and is pretty much brand new. I mean, you can see as I'm turning it around, it's been worn maybe once or twice. You know, it's still got stickers on, the sticker on the front, which obviously I've taken off to show you guys because it bubbles up, but a very interesting watch, and I like what Aviga are doing. I think he just produces watches he likes, and just that's it. I think it's as simple as that, which is nice. I wish more people would do that. But let's show this one on wrist and talk dimensions. Here we go. I'm definitely getting old Tissot vibes with how this wears, which is really cool because I'm a big fan of that 70s case, which this to me is very much of that era. So this is 39mm by 47.5mm lug to lug, only 13.5mm thick and 20mm lugs. I'd personally swap this out for a brown strap. I think that would look absolutely brilliant. But what a good looking watch, and for not a lot of money as well. I think you'll be surprised when you go see it on the website, so go check it out. From there to a pilot's watch, which I think is really awesome, and we were just discussing how you actually even say the brand. Laco. Every time I've said Laco, people correct me to Laco. What do you say? Let us know down in the description. I think it's Laco, to be honest, but let's have a close look at this awesome piece. Next up, one for you pilot fans out there, and this really does look like a vintage German Flieger. Something sort of a Langenzong would have produced back in the day even, which is really, really cool, and obviously AWC and all the other brands, Laco included, or Laco, however you want to say it. This is the Leipzig, I believe is how you pronounce that, range, which is really, really cool. You can see you've got the reference stated there on the side. You've got all the markings on the case back, which are very reminiscent of military watches, sort of how they would have been displayed. I think this is really great. And again, size-wise, this comes in at 42.5, which we'll talk more about in a second on wrist, but it wears well. And I think when you want these big sort of pilot watches, often they don't wear that well, especially with the big onion crowns. So to get one that actually fits nicely and still gives you all of that sort of pilot design and sort of heft, it's quite difficult. Inside here is a manually wound Sellita 210-1, which is a very good, reliable manually wound Sellita. And it's kind of nice that it's manually wound. Again, very true to tradition, because this is what it would have been back in the day. They didn't have automatic when they were first producing these proper pilot watches. This one's from August 2015. It does come with its full box and papers, and as you can see, again, hardly worn, as a lot of these watches today we've shown have been. So you're pretty much getting yourself as close to a new watch as possible. But let's show this one on wrist and talk dimensions. So I've just been corrected. It is Leipzig. That's how you pronounce it. I probably again said it wrong. So thank you, Danny, for the correction. It's good. I pretty much butcher pronunciations of most things. So don't hesitate to correct me, guys and girls, down in the comments. I know a lot of you love to do it, so keep doing it. This is 42.5mm by 49.5mm lug to lug, which really does wear well. It definitely feels like an old pilot's watch on wrist. Only 13mm thick and 20mm lug, so endless options, although I'd be keeping it on this strap. I think it's really fitting and it's true to tradition as well. So go check it out on the website. And that leaves the final watch on the table. That is the Glycine Combat sub. Let's have a closer look at this awesome timepiece. Next up is a watch I always love getting in because these are so good for the money. There's no question about it. That is the Glycine Combat sub series. This one has a super long reference, which I won't bother going through, but this has the pop of orange against the black, which in my opinion really, really works. You've got that open style luminous hand, and you've got the luminous second hand as well. It's a great looking watch, and they are built incredibly well. Nice screw down crown, nice rotating bezel, screw down case back, which is nicely designed as well. And inside here is either an automatic ETA 2824-2 or a Sellita SW200-1. The reason I say it could be either is because this is from 2017 when they were starting to use Sellita as well as ETA. So they didn't always specify which one it was back then. Same with many other brands as well. Now this one, as I said, is from October 2017. It does come with its box and paperwork, and condition is very good. It is worn, but it is in very, very good condition. Original strap as well, which just smells so strong of vanilla. As soon as you take out the box, that's going to be what you smell, which is a very pleasant experience, you know, to open a pre-owned watch and it smells lovely. You don't want a watch that smells horrible, so good on them. But let's show this one on wrist and taut dimensions. And here we go on wrist. As you can see, it wears really, really well at 42mm by 50mm lug to lug, 10mm thick and 22mm lug, so it's super thin considering the size, and it just wears really, really well. This rubber strap is quite firm, but you can be assured it's going to last you forever, which is the nice thing about it, but endless options at 20mm lugs as well. So go check this one out on the website. So there you have it, guys and girls. That is this week's drop. 9 incredible watches, varying in price range, varying in styles and everything like that. This is dynamic, this is variety, and this is what we want to achieve every single week here at Kibble Watches. And so far, we are. I think we are really sort of hitting the market with that niche, unusual, and stuff you don't see often at all. And I think it's working really well for us. It's definitely really enjoyable. It's exactly what I wanted to build. So to be able to do that, but it still be successful is super rewarding. And that's thanks to you guys and girls. You know, you come to us with your wacky and wonderful watches, but also you come to us when you want to buy those wacky and wonderful watches. So thank you very, very much. And the future is exciting. So yeah, we're going to leave it there. We'll see you all again next week. I'm actually going to be recording next week's drop today as well, because I am going to be away next week. So when you see this Saturday, that following week, I'm not here. I'm here for Monday, but that's it. So Danny will be taking care of orders and everything like that. He's going to have a lot of fun. I'm going to make sure he's super busy from start to finish, all day, every day. So yeah, help me with that. Buy all these watches, and then he's got to ship them all out. All right, we'll see you all again next time. Take care.